5 ways to become more masculine as a dude. For those of you that don't know too much about my story, this is me about 10 to 12 years ago. I was that shy, antisocial, video game nerd, World of Warcraft virgin loser who had no social confidence, obviously not very masculine at all, and really lacked passion and drive and ambition in my life. And since 20 all the way up to where I'm at right now, 34 years old, I feel like I've made a big progression in my life, and I see a lot of things that I was doing wrong in my 20s. So I want to talk about 5 things you could be doing right now to actually level up as a man and become more masculine. And after I get into these 5, I want to talk about a bonus idea, a concept that you should be utilizing right now about the way you should be envisioning your future identity that ties into these concepts, because creating that identity in the future of the man you're gonna become really roots in these core principles and allows you to make that true transformation. So let's get into number 1, which is stop with the ha ha ha. Okay, now a lot of dudes that I talk to, including the older version of myself, I found myself when I was talking to people, and women in particular, I wouldn't be this ha-ha funny kind of a guy. When it came time to like flirt with girls, when it came time to ask girls out, when it came time to maybe like get into some kind of like confrontation, or anytime that there was a nerve-wracking experience, maybe I was doing a public speaking thing in college or whatever it was, I would get into this ha-ha funny kind of a vibe as a dude. And really what it was me laughing because I'm anxious as a means of breaking the tension. Whether that was with women, whether that was with nerves from the public perception, whatever it may be, I would get into this ha-ha funny kind of a guy. In particular, it was really with women, and I think that's primarily what a lot of dudes struggle with when it comes to intent, or just like talking to girls, or when it comes to flirting. Dudes have a tendency of becoming the ha-ha, funny, flirty attraction guy. And I can tell you guys from personal experience, there's nothing funny about being attracted to a girl. There's nothing funny about a public presentation. There's nothing funny about a potential altercation with another man. All right, and you need to be aware of this within yourself. What areas of your life do you find yourself laughing it off? And this is why I said I think it's so important to not do it with women, because I think that's the most easiest tendency where guys will do this thing. So when it comes to this area of my life, I primarily worked on this. When it came to flirting with girls, displaying intent, when it came to holding deep eye contact and having a very serious masculine or sexual intensity with a girl, a lot of dudes, it's in those moments where they start to get silly, they start to laugh, they start to make a joke out of nervousness, they start to break the eye contact. You guys need to work on this area of your life. And I really think practicing it with women in particular is one of the best ways to do it. So the next time that you're in an interaction with a girl, the next time you're on a date, the next time you're flirting with a girl, pay attention to this behavior. Pay attention to these mannerisms when the tension's there, or when it's time to say the flirty line. Because if you're the dude that feels like you're nervously or anxiously laughing or breaking the tension as a means of avoiding that situation, okay, well, that's something we need to work on. So what I would encourage you guys to do is go into it with the right mindset of, hey, I'm gonna do this thing and I'm not gonna laugh. I'm just gonna have a little bit of a smirk on my face. I'm gonna talk a little bit slower. And even if it's uncomfortable, I'm gonna hold that tension, which, by the way, it's gonna be uncomfortable. It's something you're not used to. You're trying to grow and transition into a new phase, and that will be uncomfortable because it's outside your current identity. So go into it with the mindset of, it's gonna be uncomfortable. If I'm trying to get better with my eye contact, it's gonna be uncomfortable. If I'm trying to become more stoic, more masculine with my flirtations, it's gonna be uncomfortable. It might be a little weird the first couple times, and the girl may notice that, and that's okay, dude. That's a good thing. That means you're actually moving in the right direction, and you're putting that muscle under tension, and that's why it's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable when you're curling the fucking weight, but you hold that weight under tension, and as a result, the muscle grows, and eventually you could do that weight and go even heavier, and that's exactly what this skill set is. So stop with the ha-ha funny archetype as a dude. We're killing that shit dead, leaving it in fucking last year, okay? It's a new day, it's a new identity. Now, more on creating that new future identity at the bonus section of this video, so be sure to watch this because it's all tied into this. But that's number 1. Stop with the ha-ha funny, dude. Stop with the fucking laughs and be a little bit more serious in your intent, in your flirtatiousness, in your communication, in your eye contact, in your intensity. Let's get into number 2, which is physical activity. And I'm not talking about you're running, you're doing yoga, you're doing stretching, you're doing HIIT workouts, and you're doing CrossFit. Nothing against those things. I actually have, I've done a lot of yoga, honestly, and I think it's great. But doing yoga didn't make me more masculine, okay? So what I'm talking about when it comes to physical activity, I'm talking about really heavy workouts, like heavy intensity weightlifting, some type of physical combat training. And honestly, the third physical activity could even be sex, but make sure it's a certain type of intercourse. It's not passionate, soft love making. I'm talking about, when it comes to masculinity, having slightly more aggressive or dominant activity in the bedroom, okay? And that doesn't mean you're just going to town jackhammering the girl. There are certain ways to your stroke, as well as the position, as well as the commands, as well as the way you're looking at and talking to the girl that can convey a certain level of dominance or masculinity. And yes, guys, that is a physical activity, by the way. If you've ever done that in the bedroom for an extended period of time, you're probably coming out of that feeling slightly depleted, but at the same time, you do feel a lot more masculine. There's something about dominating the girl in the bedroom that really does increase that masculinity. So ideally, it's a combination. It's not just the bedroom, but I do think you should be working out hard, training heavy. Ideally, you're doing some type of combat fighting, and ideally, you're having sex and fucking women in a more masculine, dominant way. At least sometimes. Maybe you're not always doing that. Sometimes, especially if you're with your girl, you do have more periods where it's a little bit more soft, more intimate, and like connection based, if that's the way you like label these things. But I do think, regardless of the relationship, at least periodically be injecting more of that masculine dominance in the bedroom as well. And also, if you didn't notice, all three of those exercises in point number 2, they have some level of uncomfortableness, some level of confrontation, some level of you stepping up as the man, right? Because there's gonna be a lot of times where you don't want to hit the gym and do that heavy fucking workout, and you got to tell yourself, shut the fuck up, pussy. I'm going in regardless of how I feel. If you're fighting, obviously that's a high level of confrontation. You literally need to step into the ring and spar and combat with another man. And even in the bedroom, a lot of you dudes that are very nice guy, it's typically the same dude who's too much of a nice guy who's also the nice guy in the bedroom. There's just like, what I've noticed is there's typically like a big crossover with those. Not every time, but a lot of dudes. So by doing all three of those, it really forces you to step more into that masculine role in different areas of your life. And when you're acting a certain way in multiple areas of your life consistently, well, that's how you actually create the new identity. And that's why number 2, believe it or not, it sounds kind of obvious, right? If I just say like physical activity, but when you break it down on a more micro level, you could see why just working out heavy, having some kind of fighting and being able to dominate a girl in the bedroom is a really powerful concept to shift your identity and become more of a masculine dude. Now, we still got 3 more concepts that I want to get into. Number 3 is more based around approaching and socializing with women. Number 4 is a little bit more in that self-development type category. And the last one is something I don't really hear too many dudes talking about when it comes to confrontation, having uncomfortable conversations or passive aggressive conversation, as well as the bonus that we still got lined up that really is necessary to really utilize these concepts. Okay, so let's get into number 3, which is approach women consistently. Yes, this is not a politically correct, more masculine video, guys. I'm talking about concepts that really worked for me as a man. This isn't a self-development book here. I really do think that if you're approaching women consistently, it makes you feel more masculine. And I think the reason behind that is because we as men were biologically designed to go out and hunt, literally. Okay, like that's what we were in tribal days. We would go out, we would hunt, we would gather. If there was a girl, we would actually go up and talk to her. Modern day society has taught us to not go up and approach women and instead sit at home on a cell phone and start swiping and texting and messaging girls from a distance on some pussy shit, really. And I've seen dudes who are better looking than me, more grown, more quote unquote masculine, that have high levels of approach anxiety. And I can tell you, if you're a grown ass man and you can't go up and talk to a girl you're legitimately attracted to, that's not masculine. I promise you that that is not masculine, and that's a fucking problem, okay? And I don't think this point is really talked about. If you go and look up how to become more masculine on other videos and books, I don't really think people are talking about this, but there's something about being a dude who can go out and consistently go up to women unashamed, unapologetically, and have a conversation with that girl. And ideally, if you're good at it, be able to flirt with that girl, get her number, go on a date, run dates, and fucking dominate that girl in the bedroom. Dude, that's something most men don't experience in their lives. Like, that's a powerful fucking concept right there. And being able to go out and do that, especially if you go from open to closed and have that girl in your life, man, that is a very freeing concept. Those dudes just don't really get. And if you're not at that kind of a advanced level, that's okay. But no matter where you're at, I do think you need to be able to go out and approach women. And for those of you guys that don't want to do this consistently, look, I'm not saying to quit your job and go out and just become this pickup god. That's not what I'm saying. And you don't need to do this for the rest of your life either. Most dudes, they want to get some social confidence and ultimately end up in their dream relationship with like their 10 out of 10. Great. I applaud you. That's fucking awesome. But I do think there is a part of you deep down that should conquer this area of your life just to know that, hey, I fucking did this. I'm not afraid of that. I wasn't shackled by society's judgment or fears or my own internal anxieties, and I pussied out in this area of your life. All right, whether or not you actually meet your girl from cold approach doesn't matter, but I do think that you as a dude need to be able to fucking do this just for yourself, man. Because I don't know any masculine grown-ass man that when it comes time to go talk to a girl, he fucking shrivels up like a little pussy. To me, that's not a masculine dude. So, and that's why number 3 is to be able to go out and approach women confidently and consistently, okay? And as I'm saying this, guys, if you want help with this, click the link in the description, fill out an application where you can actually work with me personally to increase your social confidence and achieve the dating life you've always wanted. Let's get into number 4, which is the self-development, okay? And this is probably the more obvious ones that some of you guys would already probably read about in books or other videos about how to become more masculine, but it is worth putting in here. I'm not gonna make a whole video on these fucking generic topics, but it is one of the points because there is some truth to it. Removing all the negative vices you have in your life, optimizing your diet, your fitness, your physique, optimizing your sleep, optimizing the supplements, your intake, your testosterone levels, your breath work, your meditation, all of that in one. That's only one point in here. That's like the foundational shit. Because if I look back at my old self, I'll put some pictures up. Like, this is me 10, 12 years ago. I was smoking weed every fucking day. I wasn't going out. I was shackled in terms of social anxiety. I was playing video games all the fucking time. My first girlfriend left me for another dude. I didn't know how to get her back. I was crippled due to that. I was in extreme scarcity and I just wasn't a masculine dude by any means. I wasn't doing any of this stuff. I was working out a little bit, but I wasn't doing any of these other things, man. And so I do think there is a certain level of importance on being able to get your diet, your fitness, your breath work, your sleep, your testosterone levels, removing the vices. Like, doing all of that is naturally going to put you into a higher headspace. And typically guys that remove those things, they typically are more muscular, more ambitious. They have a higher level of drive and sex drive. And so you're a lot more likely to be able to hit all of the other boxes that I'm talking about in this video. So I'm not going to spend too much time on this one. It's a little bit fucking obvious if you're in self-development already, but it is worth noting nonetheless. So that's why number 4 is your self-development general concepts, okay? Now let's get into point number 5 about how to be more masculine, which is having uncomfortable conversations, aka not having passive-aggressive communication. Now, what does that mean? Now, I could tell you when I was in my mid to late 20s, as I was starting my business, and even in my own first relationship, and even with my old friendships growing up from my 20s, there was a lot of bullshit going on in my day-to-day in those relationships that I wasn't happy with. But it was on me because I'd never confronted these people. I told them it was okay. I made some kind of like quirky joke about the whole thing. I laughed it off, or I just kind of accepted it. And then I went to my other friends or my girlfriend or whoever it was, and I would talk shit about these people, whatever the thing was. I had this one friend in my friend group. I never confronted him about the thing he did. And then I would go to the rest of the friends and just talk shit indirectly about that one friend. And every time I would hang out with one of the friends, it would just be us talking shit, shooting the shit as boys, smoking a blunt, shooting the shit, but talking shit on the rest of the friend group. That's like what we would do, and that was fun because we would just crack jokes and roast each other. And then in my own relationship, there would be things that were going on that I wasn't happy with, but I wouldn't say anything, and then I would just slowly kind of compromise myself or my own happiness within the relationship. Or if my girl did something, I would just kind of like let it go, and seems okay, but it keeps building up and up and up. Or even with my employees that I hired, they would do something wrong over and over and over again. They wouldn't complete some kind of assignment. They wouldn't do this fucking thing right, whatever it was. And I would just not really talk to them about it, but then I would get pissed off and stressed out behind the scenes. And then maybe I would go talk to my girl about it or bring that negative energy into my own relationship, or the stress just kind of builds up inside. And none of these things are okay. And you guys, I promise you, you guys to some extent are doing this in one area or another in your life. It's It's definitely going on to some extent with the hot girl that you're going to end up dating. It's definitely going on to some extent within your friend group or your colleagues or your coworkers. I know it's going on somewhere in your life because even with the level of awareness that I have around this, it still happens. And that's okay. I'm bringing attention and awareness to this thing so you guys know that when something happens in your life that's not cool, it's not okay, you need to address that thing ASAP. You don't hold off and hold off and hold off. The thing that isn't a big thing that you wait on, it just continues to grow. And then more stress builds up, more anger, more resentment builds up inside of you until you can't take it anymore. And then it kind of bursts out in a negative way and you come off emotionally reactive, or it's so big that you can't even confront the person from a healthy place where you could actually have a normal civilized conversation about it. And that's how a lot of relationships will end up like exploding or imploding is more accurate, because everything's just so bundled up. It was never communicated from a healthy position. And then when it finally bursts out, there's all this extra baggage that's getting dumped down into that interaction. And what I've noticed as I've gone from my mid to late 20s to early 30s, and now I'm 34 years old, guys, one thing I've noticed is I have less of a tolerance for the bullshit. But more importantly, it's not the tolerance, it's you start to learn that I need to address this thing the moment it happens. Otherwise, I'm creating a monster that gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And not only that, people respect you more. You're just happier as a man, and you'll live a more stress-free life because things are actually on your terms, all right? And more importantly, it's easier to have these conversations before they really become a big problem. You can call it out almost instantaneously in a non-confrontational way, from a serious way, not in a ha-ha funny. We're stopping the fucking ha-has, guys. Stop with the ha-ha and sit the person down and say, hey, listen, I wanted to talk to you about this. I noticed that this happened or this happened. And from my perspective, when you did that, I felt like this. I'm just trying to get a better understanding of what you were thinking in that moment, okay? And then you have a conversation around that topic. You tell them, hey, I wanted to talk to you about this thing. You don't make it a big deal. You're cool, calm, confident. You talk about your perspective and you tell them, I just wanted to get your perspective on it. And now the other person has the stage in a way that's non-confrontational. They can clearly communicate from a judgment-free place. And then you actually seek to understand their perspective on it, but then you come back in and explain to them why it's not okay, or how you felt about it, or what needs to be changed moving forward so we can get back in sync. Now, obviously, there's different degrees to having this conversation. It just depends on if it's with your girlfriend, or a girl you've been dating, or a coworker, or an employee, or a friend within your friend group. So there's different levels to the social dynamics involved, but regardless of which one it is, guys, you need to have this conversation. If it's with a girl you're dating and you don't want to set the wrong expectation, you need to have that conversation. If it's with a girl you're dating seriously and there's something that's a problem, you need to call that thing out and address it from a cool, calm, confident place. And that's what masculine alpha dudes do. They don't shy away from confrontation, but they don't try to aggressively confront people. They're calm, they're stoic, they're intelligent, and they can have that conversation in a way where both parties walk away and now everybody's more in sync with each other about that situation. Okay, so that's number 5, which is having those uncomfortable conversations, which may take practice. Okay, that may take practice. It's not easy at first. You may kind of pussy your way into going up to the person and say, hey, I need to talk to you about this thing. And that's okay. You might not be able to go in and be like, hey man, listen, I need to talk to you about this. There's something that's been going on. I want to get in sync with you on this topic. But give it time and start practicing. And if you could stack in each of these 5 points, all of these go hand in hand with each other. Okay, if your health, your sleep, all that bullshit isn't optimized, you're not gonna have the mental clarity or even feel ambitious or confident enough to do this shit. If you're not approaching girls, getting into interactions, being able to confidently flirt and like dominate girls in the bedroom, working out on your physique, fighting, improving all of these different areas, like there's no way in hell you're gonna be able to like lead and have an uncomfortable conversation properly. So each one of these points goes hand in hand to build up that character. And now I want to talk about this final point, this bonus point, which is envisioning your future identity. Okay, because everybody right now has an idea of who you are. You have a story about who you are internally. And believe it or not, the way other people in the world right now view you, it's not the same way that you view yourself, honestly, okay? And also, the guy that you want to become is not the identity that you currently envision as yourself. The truth is that however we envision ourselves or our future self, the more clarity we could get about that identity and actually have extreme clarity on that and truly envision ourselves as that person, it's a lot easier to go about doing the day-to-day activities that align align with that dude. Okay, so typically what I'll do in my own mind is I have a vision of the guy that I want to become, what he looks like, what he sounds like, how he acts, how he communicates with people, what kind of lifestyle he lives, the amount of money he's making, all of these things. I have this identity, this more masculine, more successful version of Kyle. And then I also try to take the extreme opposite in my mind. I make the most beta, soft, pussy, excuse-making, fat, like wimpy sounding, undecisiveness, broke, drugged out dude. I have both of these identities in my mind as I envision this. And anytime I'm going about doing an activity or trying to communicate about something, I envision in my mind which direction both of these identities would be moving in. And when you do it like that and you look at your future self and you have goals structured out, it's a lot easier to hit these points that I talked about in this video when they're aligned with the future identity of yourself. Most of you dudes, you don't know what your future identity looks like. You have no vision of the guy you want to become, right? And so when you think about yourself, you have a very shit perspective on yourself. I encourage you guys to start to aim a little bit higher. You don't want to aim so far initially when you're envisioning yourself that like you don't even believe you can become that guy. Typically, we can only see 1, 2, 3, 4 levels ahead of like where our current identity is at. So I want you to take yourself and enhance that version. And the bad version, you can exaggerate as much as you want. I like to think about the old version of myself, right? And so I'll give you an example. Like last night, I'm really trying to get lean. If you guys could tell in my videos, I'm looking a little bit more leaned out. My physique's really dialed in. My diet's really dialed in. And when dinner time comes around and I finish my meal and I'm still hungry, there's this thought that kicks into my head about eating more. And very early on, I just think about my goals, my physique, that identity of that dude. And then I imagine the fat version telling me you should eat more. So when you have thoughts that align with the new identity, I try to hype myself up and push myself into fuck yeah, like yes, I'm becoming that guy, let's act that way. And when I have thoughts that come in that are more towards the negative guy, I start to categorize them with that negative beta dude. And the more I can categorize these thoughts, it just gives more clarity about which decision is the right decision, which in the heat of the moment, when you're under stress, or when there's pressure, or when it's time to approach that girl and you're thinking about which guy you're trying to become, having more clarity around these thoughts and compartmentalizing them makes it easier to make the right decision, because you also associate the bad decision with the bad identity. So it's a really powerful technique, okay? So I encourage you guys, use these 5 concepts in your day-to-day right now to start becoming more masculine, to make that transition, along with the bonus techniques so you have clarity around the dude you want to become. And if you want help becoming that guy, I told you guys already, I showed you my transformation. I went from this dude to this dude over the last 12 years. It took me a really long time. You don't need to waste that much time. I wasted almost a decade of my 20s going into my 30s to try to become the guy I am today. I can fast track your results. I can help you with your social confidence, your dating life, and really just level up that core identity to become that masculine dude. So if you're interested, click the link in the description, book out a free consultation call so we can talk more about your situation. That's all for this video, guys. Peace out.